What is the most desolate, isolated mountain range in America? Well, I would argue that it's the Newfoundland Range, located in northwestern Utah. This mountain range is completely encompassed and separated from the world by a salt flat that is larger than several U.S. states at over 3,500 square miles in area. Literally, the only way to reach this place is by crossing many, many miles of lifeless salt pan and mud, essentially making it an island among the salt. There's only one other major mountain on Earth that is completely encompassed by salt flats like this, in the high-altitude salt flats of Bolivia. However, the minimum distance across the salt to reach the Newfoundland Range is about a mile further than that mountain in Bolivia, and the average distance is much, much higher. That is why I believe that outside of Antarctica, the Newfoundland Range is the most isolated mountain range on Earth, both ecologically and geographically. My friend Austin and I are going to attempt to walk over 17 miles of salt and mud to reach the range, and then summit the highest point, Desert Peak. In total, this journey will require over 40 miles of walking across one of the most barren and remote wastelands in America, all without a single drop of fresh water in sight. This is easily going to be the craziest journey I've ever done. Welcome to the Great Salt Lake Desert. My name is Landon. This is Austin. And as you saw in the intro, we are going to be walking across a ridiculous amount of salt to those mountains out there. You can barely see them right now because it's really windy and that's blowing up a lot of haze and dust and stuff. We're wearing some head cloths to keep warm because it is frigid cold out here. It said with the wind chill 8 degrees tonight. So yeah. Okay, we are leaving the car and we're gonna have over 16 miles to go to get to the edge of the mountain range. Currently, we're kind of on this mud pan that does have some invasive plants, but soon it will just turn to solid mud and salt. We are both carrying about 5 liters of water each, and that is hopefully gonna be enough, because the thing about this trip we're doing is there is not a single drop of fresh water in sight. So we're going to be doing over 40 miles with, no water resupplies, which normally that is just not going to be doable. But luckily, since it's so cold, we're not going to be using as much water as normal. I'm just going to get this out of the way real quick because I know a ton of people are going to be commenting this. They're going to be saying, why didn't you drive to the mountain range? Why didn't you drive across the salt? And there's 2 main reasons. For one, this right here is very wet mud, and right now pretty much frozen, so as you can see we're not sinking in. But if it were to get warm, it would be really bad. It gets really slippery, and I do not want to get my car stuck out here. And then the other reason is simply for the spirit of the adventure. If you do want to come out to this mountain range, you can drive across. You don't have to do what we're doing if you have a good vehicle, but we really want to experience, the true and full experience of getting to this mountain range, so we'll truly be able to appreciate how isolated it really is. We've now kind of transitioned to salt encrusted mud, so you can see it down there, and if I kick through it, gets nice and dark. But on top, there's definitely a layer of salt. Okay, there's one other animal out here besides us. Seems to be a coyote patrolling the wasteland. I don't know what it was doing. Doesn't seem like there's much for it out here. It feels like we've been going for a long time, but the mountain, I don't know, it seems a tiny bit bigger. And we can kind of see the railroad now. The railroad that cuts across the Great Salt Lake also cuts across this salt flat. The black strip on the horizon is the railroad. Probably can't even see it. We're currently playing a game where we cover our eyes and see how far we can walk in a straight line. Oh, it's soft right there. We officially have absolutely nothing around us. There are no bushes, not even weeds anymore. It's just salt mud. And the sun is about to set and it's getting really, really cold. And we've only gone 4 miles. So we're probably gonna be going 10 more tonight in the dark. It's gonna be rough. This railroad tie here is literally the highest point for miles and miles around. It's kind of funny. It's a literal mountain.
I just summited Thai Peak.
Oh, let's go!
Yeah!
First descent. No, wait, that was quickest known, or what's that called?
Fastest known time,
Yeah.
Thai Peak ascent.
Let's
summit.
go. Oh, dude, look! There's a train. Oh my god. That's the tracks I was talking about.
I'm gonna catch it!
No, you're not gonna catch it, dude. You can hear it. Wait, stop and listen for a sec. Okay, he's not gonna. I don't know if you guys can hear that deep rumble, but I can. It's the train. That train track is literally still 4 or 5 miles from us. He gave up.
After the train, we continued walking in the last light of the day, doing our best to enjoy the serenity before everything turned to blackness. Once the sun sets, this vast flatland is going to turn into an endless purgatory of mud. I also neglected to realize beforehand that the extreme amount of salt present in the wet mud would lower its freezing point, meaning it was not going to be a purgatory of frozen mud, but rather wet, sticky mud.
Okay, it's getting dark, but we just found something pretty weird. That you can see next to Austin, there's this straight line in the mud. So I think what this might be... Wait, yeah, there's the rock at the end. Yeah, I think these are like the racetracks at Death Valley, where the rocks move along the mud. Yep.
Wow.
That's so cool. Look at that. I didn't know those existed outside Death Valley. We just found them for the camera. Who knows where the rock is? He went on a journey. The mud is now really wet and it's sticking to our feet and making our shoes really heavy. And you have to like kick it off, but then it just sticks again. This is exactly why I didn't want to drive my car out here. So much mud. Oh. Absolute purgatory. Here, let me turn off my light. There's Austin. Yeah, it's just nothing forever. Can't even see the mountain range now. Thanks to his compass bearing and also my map, we know we gotta go generally this way. So we're just gonna walk on this nothingness for the rest of the evening. It's absolutely bitter cold. I mean, I have 3 layers on, including a down jacket, and I'm still cold, and we're walking full speed. So yeah, really nervous about tonight, but hopefully it's all right. What a nice time we're having. We're almost to the mountain range. We're about a mile away, and the mud is horrendous. Okay, we made it to the mountain range. It's like 9 o'clock or something, and now we're walking on this frozen road that has some really weird things on it. It's like all ice, and then there's these little ice towers that are like bubbling out mud and liquid. I don't know. And there's a bunch of them. Like they're little pinnacles on the ice. But yeah, there's these little pillars. We have officially made camp. It's windy once in a while. We've luckily kind of gotten out of the wind here.
Our water bottles already have ice in them, and it's only like 10 p.m.
Yeah, so who knows how it's going to be at 3 a.m. because the skies have completely cleared up, so...
Your water's done.
Oh, sick. I'm having some mushroom risotto. Hopefully that warms me up a little bit. I am all bundled up. Austin's up over there with a nicer sleeping bag than me, so he's nice and warm. I realize this is probably going to be my coldest night ever. I don't think I've ever done anything below 15 degrees. Should be worth it. We're gonna get up and hike the peak in the morning, and it'll be blue sky because of all this wind. All right, enough yapping for the night. See y'all in the morning if I don't freeze to death.
While I shiver in my sleeping bag for the next 8 hours, let's zoom out and take a better look at the geology and geography with Google Earth. The most important question you may be asking is, why is there a massive mountain range in the middle of such a perfect flatland? Well, that is because of 2 things coming together in a perfect storm which has occurred nowhere else on Earth: Great Basin spreading and Lake Bonneville. The Newfoundland Range is a pretty typical Great Basin mountain range that has resulted from the crust spreading out in this part of America due to tectonic forces. As the land is pulled apart, it fractures along long parallel faults, which cut up the land into large blocks. As it continues to stretch, some of these blocks sink down, these are the valleys, and some are hoisted up into the air. These are the mountain ranges. The Newfoundland Range is simply another one of these hoisted blocks, forming a mountain range like the multitudes of other ranges in Nevada and western Utah. However, the valleys below these ranges aren't normally perfectly flat. Normally, they're this kind of U shape, which holds typical Great Basin ecosystems. However, that is not the case here, due to ancient Lake Bonneville. This lake was present in the last ice age when an ice dam in southern Idaho held back an immense amount of water that covered a huge portion of Utah. As with all lakes, Lake Bonneville collected sediment, which dropped out of the water column and began to fill these basin valleys underwater. When the ice dam eventually gave way, it left behind the much smaller Great Salt Lake and a vast playa of saline mud in western Utah. Further south, these salt flats are much more separated and small, but up north it is connected into one of the largest salt flats on Earth. It is larger than the U.S. states of Rhode Island and Delaware, and theoretically, it's one of the few places on Earth where you could walk unobstructed in a straight line for over 100 miles. Many mountain ranges were actually islands in Lake Bonneville, but only a couple were left as islands among the salt and mud, the Newfoundland Range being the largest and the most encompassed of the remaining. As for current geography, the nearest paved road to the range is I-80, which is about 20 miles away. This means that the Newfoundlands are normally only seen as a blip on the horizon, if they are seen at all. It can also be seen in the distance from the Spiral Jetty and Highway 30. Only those who truly seek out the range will see it as more than a distant peak on the horizon. The nearest town is Park Valley, Utah, which is over 40 miles away and barely counts as a town. We chose to walk from Highway 30 to the north due to the south being a military bombing range as well as the higher likelihood of the South being completely inundated with water, because the area seasonally fills up with a very small sheet of water due to snowmelt. Where we parked is pretty much as close as you can get to the range without good conditions and a four-wheel drive vehicle. However, with those conditions, you can drive through the military range along the railroad and get to the mountain. Desert Peak may not be the hardest peak in America to reach and summit. It may not be the most remote peak, but it's crazy how well it fits the definition of most isolated. All right, let's get back to the cold.
Okay, I survived the night. That was really, really cold, but doable. And now I get to put on frozen shoes. All right, we are starting the walk to get to Desert Peak. Desert Peak is right there, kind of shrouded in the sun. We basically have to walk up to that pass and then go up the ridge and summit. It's gonna be about 3,000 feet from where we are now. But the coolest thing I wanted to show you guys right now, while the sun is coming up, is this. We couldn't really see this last night, but this is insane, and I'll tell you why. All of that right there is super healthy biological soil crust. Here's what it looks like up close. I'm sure you've seen this in a lot of my other videos in southern Utah, or just other people talking about it, and it's very, very prominent in the south. But out in the Great Basin, in environments like this, I have literally never seen it before. I mean, I've never seen it especially this good. And that's because it has been completely trampled by cows and people. And after it gets trampled, it dies for a while. And in the Great Basin, invasive grasses like cheatgrass have come in and just spread through areas like this. Like, I'm sure this looks kind of strange. In Great Basin, there's usually a ton of grass here in the middle where cheatgrass has filled in these interspaces between the brush. But now, out here, it's untouched. There's no cows out here. And wow, there's crust. That, to me, is pretty insane. I mean, I've been hiking in the Great Basin my entire life, and I've never seen crust like this, ever. So that really, really just speaks to how isolated this place is. They didn't even put cows on it. That's one of the things I always say, is there's always cows everywhere. They get them everywhere. But for once, they didn't get them here. There's no cows. Do you see these flat lines that go across the mountain? Like, you can really see it good right here. Big flat line.
These are ancient lake terraces from Lake Bonneville, proof that this mountain was once an island in the lake.
We've been walking up this 2-track dirt road for a while, and that road is actually an old mining road. Because as you can see behind me, people used to live here. There was a very small mining town, I think in the early 1900s. I'm not sure on the exact date, I'll have to put that up. But people literally lived out here on this mountain range and mined for copper, silver, and gold, I think. It's constructed out of this shale. Oh, they even had a, yeah, 2 stories or something. Floor. Yeah, elevated, that's what I was trying to say, elevated floor. Here's kind of the surrounding area, still ahead of the sun. And the rocks are just getting really cool, really spiky. And wow, it's like, I was just expecting that to be a salt flat out there, and the fact that it's filled with water is really, really cool. I guess it's from the snow melt. Really glad we didn't try to walk across that part, because I think we were kind of heading towards it at a point, and that's where we hit some really bad mud. Yeah. Got some more ruins. We made it to the sun. There's the other side of the range. Quite pretty. But now we gotta go up that way. The top of the peak. I don't know if you can see it. Desert Peak is right there. This is kind of what we're going up. There's the peak. We're almost there. Doing pretty good.
This is a holy shit moment.
Oh, damn. Look at this, guys.
Okay. It's like we're at the Red Sea.
Wow.
It's like we literally reached the Dead Sea.
That's like unfathomable, dude. How are we out here? I just checked my map. Still have 1,000 feet to go, so never mind, we're not close. It's gotten real. It's just so cool. And then this way, there's literally like 75 miles of salt that way before you get to the next landmass. And these cliffs too, just wicked cliffs. And somewhere out there, that's not even the Great Salt Lake. I think that dries up pretty normally, but past that mountain range is the Great Salt Lake. We made it, there it is. Summit of Desert Peak in the Newfoundland Range. This is one of the most isolated peaks, not only in America, but on Earth. There we go, got the geodetic survey marker from 1940 and the summit register. Congrats, Desert Peak. Pretty epic. Pretty epic. It's calm up here, it's blue skies. This is exactly what I wanted. Up front over there, some clouds, so we won't be able to see the Wasatch Range or Salt Lake City or anything like that. But that's fine. It makes it feel more isolated because the one population center that is actually close to here is just shrouded in fog. Pretty crazy to think that we started, I don't know, somewhere out there, not really sure where, came across the railroad and then made it kind of this way to the edge of the mountain range. And then if you can see that road down there, we followed that. Yeah, it's at the base of those rocks. That's where we camped. And then we walked on this road to about here and came up the mountain range over here. Pretty awesome climb. Like, it was very enjoyable doing that. I mean, just beautiful and pretty consistent slope. Really fun. Watch, yeah, I don't know what to say. I'm at a loss of words for how amazing and unique this is. We are really cold. It's it's probably 20 degrees up here. I don't even know.
When the wind comes out, it feels like it's 15.
Yeah.
It's indescribably cold.
Yeah, and it's actually been quite calm until I just picked up the camera. Now I'm like shivering because there's a cloud hitting us. We don't want to spend another night out here because, ugh, no thank you. So that means we get to walk back across the mud. From this point, we probably have 20 miles to go. It's gonna be a trudge fest, and it's gonna suck. So, all right, let's head down the mountain, start the trudge fest, back across the mud plain. We just took about an hour break, napped in the sun. It's nice and warm here. We just packed up our camp. I slept right here, and Austin slept over there in the bushes. And there's Desert Peak in the sun now. It would be pretty nice to be up there at the moment. This is going to be the most miles I've ever done in a single day, which is pretty cool. We have to get all the way to the base of that mountain tonight. But it's gonna be all right because I have a full pack of peanut butter M&Ms, or peanut M&Ms, waiting for me at the car, so that's just gonna make it worth it. And then my Seahawks play in the NFC Championship tomorrow, so hopefully they do good and I'll actually be able to watch that game. I haven't really mentioned this, but the rocks are actually super cool here. This is a big granite pluton, I think. I don't know why it's here, but it is. Making some really cool formations.
Yeah, grayish green. Probably more just gray.
Goodbye, Desert Peak. Our new life is this for the next 8 hours, probably.
Yeah.
Check this out. We found our tracks from last night. Prove that we actually did it. Look at that. It just kind of winds off into the distance there. It's crazy just to see the mud flat go to the horizon. And we're actually seeing some mountains disappear over the horizon as we walk. I think the real special thing about this place is it's probably one of the only places on land where you can see literally nothing all the way to the horizon. Because at the ocean, you just see water and that's it until the horizon. Here, just mud to the horizon. And it's just such a weird feeling. And the fact that it's perfectly flat, my mind is just struggling to cope with the fact that there's nothing for 40 miles that way. Literally nothing. Like in that way, it could be up to 80 miles or even more. Look how long my shadow is. That's probably the longest I've ever seen my shadow. That's really funny looking. Looks like I'm on stilts. The sun's just about to set, and it's really pretty. Here's a look back at where we've come from. We were on top of Desert Peak not 6 hours ago. You can really see its isolation from this view. This is what we couldn't see last night because it was so dark. But it is alone out there.
After the sunset, we walked until 10:30 that night, finally reaching the car as our legs and feet had nothing left. We had completed a 41-mile circuit and a 27-mile day. This was my most mileage in a day ever and my first time doing a marathon distance in a day, so I'm pretty happy with that. Despite how incredible the trip was, it left me wanting more. I feel like I need to know what it's like to sit on top of Desert Peak during a fascinating Great Basin sunset, or see the playa completely dry and shining white. This trip was unlike anything else I've ever done or ever will do, so I guess I'll just have to come back and walk across the flat again.